realized that I have got to learn how to do, not just talk about it or read about it, I've got to learn how to actually think and do what it is I think they need to be able to learn how to do for themselves. I got to model it, in other words, not just pay lip service.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi, Brian.
Hello, hello.
Oh my goodness, what a great day. What a great stage we have here. And for those of you who do not know, this is ADHD Rise. Click that add friends button and let's get everyone in here today because for those of you who don't know Brian yet, just know that he is incredible. He has so much wealth of knowledge for us today. And he was on our show on the ADHD Rise event last year. Had an incredible, amazing conversation. Super cool guy. And he's going to be sharing with us a topic that we both thought was very important. This topic is about, the extremes, right? Those extreme ways of thinking, the extreme ways of being that are so common when you have neurodiversity, right? Flash of mic, actually drop in the comments. Do you ever have that pendulum swinging ideas, thoughts, beliefs that perhaps it's all or nothing, right? All or nothing. If that's you, say me. Put me in the comments. And so that all or nothing extreme thinking, I know, there's a tendency to think that way, black or white, good or bad, all in or all out, right? And I know this is something that's very common. We're hyper focused or we're not motivated at all. With neurodiversity, this is such an important topic. And so for those of you who are just joining ADHD Rise 2022, this is our second annual event. We are in the marathon of our last week, and we are so excited. I'm so excited and honored that Brian was able to carve out some time and join us here today. My name is Val Nichols. I am a business coach for heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. I help them to be able to, have the time with their family that they truly desire, not spend their time wasted on all of the things that is required when you are an entrepreneur. And I love to work with heart-centered, purpose-driven people who want to build not just a business, but a legacy. And this message today, I want you guys to listen up. Go grab your pen and paper because Brian is going to be sharing with us. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And Brian comes to us with a master's degree in social work. He's a father of 3 boys with Asperger's and ADHD. Can we say, holy cow, busy dad? He has a unique approach to helping parents connect with their children, and he is the creator of the Brave Process. You guys, I am so honored and excited and privileged to introduce to you Brian King. Welcome, Brian. Share a little bit about yourself. Let us get to know you. Welcome.
Well, goodness, Val, I will allow you to introduce me every time I
Whoop,
present.
whoop.
That was tremendous. Well, you've already talked about the demographics. My sons have ADHD and Asperger's. My oldest also has dyslexia, like dear old dad, and he has bipolar, and he's mastering in social work. He's majoring in social work. He's still doing his undergrad, but he's looking to leverage that as well. I've written 5 books. Just started my 6th. And my wife is ADHD too, and we are quite a pair, to say the least. So, and my day job is I work full time as an entrepreneur, have been doing so for 15 years. I work primarily with neurodivergent women who are looking to wrap their brains around their neurodivergence, that of their children, and to learn how to work around the gaps in their executive functions as well as unlearn all of those self sabotaging habits so that they can be their best selves. So that's what I do.
Whoop, whoop. I love that. And so, for a quick overview, since we have you to pick your brain, I'm so excited about this. There's a lot of terms for anyone who's listening who may be newer or wondering, hey, do I have ADHD? I don't know. For executive functioning, what are some examples of those executive functioning traits that you're talking about?
Well, the umbrella term executive functions is very telling because it basically means the qualities or the skills that allow you to execute and implement your knowledge. So if you have a hard time remembering things, well, you're not going to be able to prioritize as well. You're not going to remember to be on time for things. And if you don't write them down because you insist you can remember, you can count on having a reputation for being unreliable and inconsistent. Because if it doesn't get written down, doesn't get prioritized, certainly doesn't get remembered. So short-term memory is one. Being able to plan something. Can you decide what the first step and last step are? Can you decide what all the steps in between are? Or can you only conceive of it's not done or it's perfect? That's all or nothing thinking. And if perfection is your end goal, you probably won't get started because you can't have guarantees beforehand that it'll end up perfect, that you will look like nothing but competent, and that everything will go smoothly. And because of a lot of our unrealistic expectations, we never get started. Another example would be sequencing. This is where I struggle. Trying to figure out what order things are supposed to go in. Even if I do remember what I'm supposed to be doing, I also tend to switch things or forget one step. So I need to write down the important sequences. Some days my brain remembers because everything is firing. Some days my memory is a little worse, so I'll forget a step. Sometimes my sequencing is a little worse, so I'll be more inclined to mess up the order, but I'll remember all the steps. So it depends on which executive function issues you have and whether one is working better one day versus another. That's the dynamic nature of being neurodivergent. Dynamic meaning roller coaster, waves, good one day, lousy the next, and you never know what you're going to get until you start trying to make things happen. So I hope that answers your question, Val.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that. So when I got diagnosed ADHD, and I was wondering, like, what does all this mean? And there was a lot of struggle with it. I do have a background in addictions, and, I had addictions and have been recovered for 12 years now. But I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, this is another freaking thing that I have to deal with my whole life. And I allowed myself that, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I allowed myself a couple days to sit in that and feel sorry for myself and be in the pity. But then, I'm a very solution orientated person, which I know a lot of you guys are in here. We're the ADHD superpower. We don't allow that to hold us back. But that executive functioning, there's a lot of words that come up with ADHD that can feel very confusing. And I learned more about ADHD on Clubhouse and TikTok than I ever learned from anyone else. And a lot of that is from people like you, Brian. You showed up at the ADHD Rise event last year. I watch your content on Instagram, and I get to learn a lot about normalizing the conversation around those functions, because even as you're speaking, you are describing, I mean, this month with this event, there's so many moving pieces. I have dropped the ball on quite a few things because it is like it's all there in my memory, and I lie to myself and I tell myself I'm going to remember, and then it's like, oh my god, I still didn't change my PO box to the new town I live in, and now I have like 2 days to get it done. Stuff like that, it feels so hard, and it feels like I can get in that self beat up mode of like, oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. Why don't I remember all these things? And I hate that word stupid, but I'm just being honest and real with you guys because I want you guys to know that these are the things that are very normal and we can feel alone.
And let's also keep in mind, I mean, the whole stupid concept is something that I am very familiar with. Calling myself stupid on occasion, not as much as I used to. But when we look at what we're encouraged to think of as intelligent, what's a measure of intelligence? In grade school, it's memory. How well can you remember the facts? How well can you recall them so that you can be scored on them? And if your memory stinks, well, that means you're stupid. Oh, I'm so stupid. I should know this. I can't remember. Oh my goodness. And because we think of things that way, we get into comparison a lot. We get into the not good enough conversation. And that becomes to be a major aspect of how we see ourselves. And it begins with that premise that there are certain ways that intelligence is measured and demonstrated, and very few of them are the unique ways that our brain works. It's how the typical brain shows up that is measured as intelligent. You can remember, you can regurgitate, you can organize your desk, organize your locker, all of these things that we struggle with. And because we can't do them, we're told we're unmotivated, or we're too dreamy, or we're not trying hard enough. What a bunch of BS. We're trying harder than anyone could possibly imagine. But we're dealing with a brain that doesn't efficiently and consistently execute. That's the challenge that we're working with. And in many cases, sometimes you can be the visionary, like Richard Branson, who's in charge of Virgin. He's very dyslexic. He's unable to execute a lot of things, but he can imagine them. So he gets the people together who can execute, make sure follow through happens, and he puts them on the job. So in many cases, we hold ourselves up as the one who must complete the outcome or it doesn't count. That's something else school taught us. Be independent. Do it yourself. Do it on your own. Don't work as a team. If you ask for help, it means you didn't try hard enough. It means you didn't think it through. It means you didn't use all those executive functions that you stink at. A lot of teachers hold such a they hold up independence as though it not only exists but is achievable, neither of which is true. What we need to learn is how to be effective members of a community because we need each other. We need reciprocal relationships. We need to be able to speak vulnerably with each other, ask for what it is we need, and not be ashamed of it. I'll stop talking for a minute.
Ooh, great conversation, you guys. Mic drop moments there. What I heard you say was be a part of community. It's okay to ask for help, and it's not weak to ask for help. That is, I'm looking at Adam right now because he speaks a lot about that as well. And that's something that, is a very prevalent conversation that I feel like we try and highlight in this room. And that's why I love how aligned you are with this conversation, this community, all of that. Because it is, it's so important. And I'm looking at all the people that I've met in this room and through Clubhouse and through the ADHD Rise event and connected with. And I'm thinking, man, like, I don't know what I would do without my community and without people that, can really support and help us. And that was one of the biggest things for me as an entrepreneur, is I have 4 different companies, 6 brands, 7 streams of income. And it's like, even hiring my first person felt like I was failing somehow. And I want to say to anybody who might be feeling that way, like, oh, I don't know, can I get help? Can I hire the person? Can I, reach out to Brian? Can I get the business coach? Can I do the thing that I know, I know you can do it all. No doubt in my mind, you can. You can struggle, you can spread yourself too thin, you can put all the hats on, you can, overschedule, you can leave all the messages on unread, but you don't have to. You don't have to.
I mean, I can't imagine. In fact, I wouldn't function if I didn't have the support that I do. I mean, one thing you can't see is that I'm lying in bed right now because I'm on the tail end of a multiple sclerosis flare. And my legs are kind of weak and wobbly, and it's harder to hold my body up. So I'm laying down. That's an accommodation that I have the privilege of because of how I've structured my life and how I've structured my business so that I can take care of myself and have the flexibility to keep showing up like I'm doing right now. But I have to be attentive to my own needs first because without that, I'm going to always be exhausted. I'm not going to have energy left over for the things that I'm really good at because I'm too busy trying to do the stuff my brain doesn't do. And one of the reasons that we are often held back so much in life is because we're trying to do all the things we stink at because that's what we were encouraged to do. Strengthen our weaknesses, work on your printing and your spelling, do memory exercises. What they don't tell you to do is figure out a way to work around it or accommodate it so you don't have to expend energy on it. The reason I use a calendar and reminders is because I can't remember worth a darn. I don't remember when things are. I don't remember when things are supposed to start. I have a very poor sense of time. So I use tech in order to work around those gaps and do for me what my brain doesn't do for myself. That is a big key to being able to navigate effectively with neurodivergence, is to leverage the resources available to you to help compensate for areas that you struggle. In fact, one thing I don't want to forget about the importance of community. One of my principles is what I call the complementary principle, which basically states my strengths are the reason you need me, and your strengths are the reason I need you. Because we complement one another. We're in this together. We are designed to be community creatures. So it makes sense that some would be good at stuff we're not, and we'd be good at stuff they're not. Otherwise, there's no compelling reason to work together. So that's just how I've wrapped my mind around it. So I see community as a necessary way of making the difference that I want to make and reaching my potential. Because I need that experience of synergy with other people who are good where I'm not, so that our combined efforts can make something even better than either of us could do individually. So there's that part.
Oh, so good, Brian. Thank you so much. And that's everything you're saying, that finding the people who are your strengths, right? And this is important for people who are asking or getting support from a coach, a mentor, an accountability partner, a community, or, hiring out or delegating is so my main assistant, Tamara, she is amazing at systems, organization, all of these behind the scenes boring tasks that I absolutely despise. She is such a compliment to me, which we've learned how to, function well together. And I'm in partnership right now. I'm doing a big event here locally in May. And I just got in partnership with someone who is in my extreme opposite. She loves numbers. She's a bookkeeper. She loves spreadsheets, which I can do. I can do the structure, but she's like, we are complete opposites in that way. And I'm the visionary, the enroller, the one that's going to, get people on board and get them going and then be, the face of the event. But it's all about finding those people that, can be in the beginning. I just want to say in the beginning, it might feel uncomfortable or weird getting used to having someone who's very analytical when you're visionary or having someone that's holding you accountable, right? I think we all want that. But when the rubber meets the road, it can be a little difficult to accept. Do you have that experience? And what would you say for anyone that might be in that space?
Well, again, it comes back to that belief of what is the value of help? Is it something that's to be avoided, something to be embraced? I have learned to accept it as this is simply a matter of course. This is how life works. I do a lot of using natural processes to inspire the paradigms and metaphors I use because just I like things to be concrete. And if the process exists somewhere else in nature, then I know that there's something to it. Like the case in point, one of my favorite stories or metaphors to use is the Asian bamboo. There's a specific kind of bamboo that spends about 5 years building its underground root system before anything ever happens on the surface. Then once its root system is intact, it'll grow like 90 feet in a month or something like that. Maybe even a shorter amount of time. You can see the thing growing. It grows so fast. So the way I parallel that to our lives is the importance of building your foundation before you expect growth. There's a lot of work that needs to go into building a reputation, building a business, building new habits, and that's just like the Asian bamboo. You build the foundation, and once everything is ready to go, you can start building the house. So that's an example of that.
Boom. I want everyone to listen up. I know you guys are all multitasking out there, but I want to repeat what Brian just said. You've got to build the foundation before you expect growth. Dang, that is a really powerful statement. I'm going to clip that for you, Brian, because you've got to build the foundation before you expect growth. And I say this with so much love and compassion and from a place that we are the same. We are the same. Believe me, everything you guys are struggling with, I struggle with too, probably tenfold. So, when we're going around as neurodiverse people and we're struggling against our brain. And I hate to sound melodramatic when I say that, but we're struggling against ourselves. We're standing in our own way, running around in circles, wondering why we can't just remember or we can't just do the thing or we can't just get motivated. And I'm saying this because I work with a lot of ADHD entrepreneurs. And so I know what you're thinking. I am one. When we're struggling against ourselves, we're expecting the growth before we have the foundation. And I know we love instant gratification because we want that dopamine hit. It gets to be a both and conversation of slowing down, building the foundation, and then we get to see the growth. And so often we're trying to put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, we want the
So I want you
result
guys
without
to
the work.
really hear that. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because our executive functions are everything that's necessary to create and follow through on a process. And the reason why we don't appreciate the gray between the black and white is because we tend to fumble around process, so it's what we want to avoid. The process is what makes us feel stupid. So we just want things now. We want things to happen, just to work out. We don't have to want to do any effort for it. But the problem is we keep trying to do it as though we ought to be able to do it. I should be able to remember. I should be more organized. My friends don't need help with this. I shouldn't either. And we should ourselves. We should all over ourselves instead of honoring the fact that we need accommodation, we need technology, we need the help of another person, and that's okay. And give ourselves permission to model and be a living example of the importance of cooperation.
Ooh, I like that reframe you used of cooperation,
Oh,
where
I
if it
got a
can
lot of
feel,
them. It's important to
I love
reframe
that.
things that are in a way that's empowering for us, that not only helps us realize we are capable of action, but something that compels us to take that action.
Dang, I have to say, Brian, you were such an inspiration to me this morning. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, thanks, Teresa. Yeah, this is how I am.
Oh my
People
God,
have
yes.
asked me because I not only have the ADHD, the autism, dyscalculia, and dyslexia. I also have Ehlers-Danlos and multiple sclerosis. And there are times where I feel bad for myself when symptoms are really flaring. But at the end of the day, I can't make an impact with the one life I have by spending my time feeling sorry for myself. I also have three boys that are watching me live my life, and I don't want them to see, okay, well, dad quits, dad makes excuses, dad's a whiner. I guess that's the way to go because they have their own challenges. And if I don't model for them resilience and resourcefulness, well, then who the heck are they going to learn it from? So I realize that I have got to learn how to do, not just talk about it or read about it. I've got to learn how to actually think and do what it is I think they need to be able to learn how to do for themselves. I got to model it, in other words, not just pay lip service. And that is how I make a point of showing up. If I'm not doing it, I've got no business recommending it to you. So that's just kind of how I roll.
Boom. So good. So good. You guys, I hope everyone's taking notes. I've been actually taking notes in the comments, like writing down some of the mic drops that I've heard today, and so many good things. And I'd love to open it up as well. Teresa, if you want to kick us off, if you have anything to share, ask, say, and then we'll go ahead and open up the mics for anyone that would like to comment, ask questions, dive deeper into this.
Oh my God. It's like every other word
Right.
is so. I know. And I could talk about the executive function all day long, probably because I'm so new and it's only been a year. But, in Your Brain's Not Broken, that book that talked about the executive function, I was like, yes, yes, with every turn of the page. And it's every time you talk, Brian, it's like, yes, yes. It's just opening up a new door. So thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad it's resonating with you. One thing I want to put out there that I saw right before getting on the call here is I saw a post that saying a lot of people with ADHD believe that RSD is the biggest obstacle when it comes to ADHD. That's I'm trying to remember what the acronym means. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria. That's it, right? Can you
Yes,
see?
rejection sensitivity
Okay.
dysphoria.
And that's basically you're so afraid of being rejected that you can't even try to introduce yourself. You're afraid of asking for help because you just assume that every response you're going to get is no, and it feels devastating to you. Being bummed or a little put out because you didn't get the answer you wanted, you feel like the world came to an end. If that's not all or nothing, I don't know what is. That you think that either the person accepts you and loves you or they hate you, they can't stand you.
So, Brian, I have a comment to that. So, I was raised in a very dysfunctional home, and it's probable that my father had bipolar and my mom has ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And my son, who's 23, was diagnosed with ADHD when he was in school, but we didn't really know how to get all the resources that was necessary. And now, after him, going through the challenges in college, he says, "Mom, I really, really, truly think you have ADHD." And just like Val said, TikTok and Clubhouse is just like, whoa, baby. I feel like I can resonate with everyone I meet in Clubhouse discussing ADHD. But when you're talking about RSD, my father trained me not to ask, that I was going to be rejected and he was going to tell me no. So not only do I already have that feeling, but then I was trained that if I ask, the answer is going to be no. So don't even bother going there. So that's just like double, trying to overcome that. Whether I
Right.
don't know if it's from my upbringing or it's from something that's actually within me, and so it's like a dual thing that I'm trying to overcome.
Well, you
It's just
probably you
really
probably got a
hard.
combination of nature and nurture going on there. Because it's rarely one; it's usually both. And when I think about RSD, you think about the overthinking that goes into preparing to ask for help or see if you can be part of a group. And that overthinking tends to be catastrophic. If they don't involve me, then it's going to be awful. It's going to mean I'm never going to make friends and I'm never going to be happy. That's all or nothing. When I look at RSD, it is driven by all or nothing thinking on so many levels. And when people say, well, we don't know what causes RSD, we're still researching it. Hello? Can we have a discussion? Let's look at the internal conversation that exists around RSD. It's all or nothing thinking. The self talk is all or nothing. That's what you need to get a handle on. Realize that relationships and getting to know people and whatever mood they're in, the timing of it is all dynamic. It's all on a continuum. And one moment is not equal to the next. If you learn about the parts that go into whether someone is going to open themselves up to you or not, you realize that 99.9% of it has nothing to do with you. And once you realize that, you are able to allow someone else their no. Because if there's one thing we wish we could have for ourselves, it's more opportunities to say no. That's too loud. I don't like to be touched. This is too fast. Can you say that again? We don't allow ourselves that boundary. We feel guilty when we say no because we're raised to be people pleasers. So when other people say no to us, it's because we have failed to please them. That's what we tell ourselves.
Boom. Whoa. Holy cow, that was dynamic,
This is
Brian,
the
what you
stuff
just said.
this is what I think about all day.
I love it. I love it. Does that speak to what you were saying, Teresa?
Absolutely. And then, of course, I'm a recovering people pleaser, control freak, uh,
Well, welcome to the tribe.
codependent in recovery, all the things, because I was just raised in that environment. And then I grew up to be gravitated towards that behavior. Then I replicated that behavior that I hated in my father. And it's just like trying to relearn, retrain the brain, rewire the brain. And so I resonate with almost everything you're saying today. Absolutely great.
Yeah, you just basically described the work of being an adult. Because we're raised by people who don't know what the heck they're doing, and we live with the consequences of their imperfect parenting. And then we need to spend our adulthood reparenting and sorting that all out so we actually have some healthy strategies to navigate our life and have some kind of fulfilling existence. And that's really what I'm trying to help create for the neurodivergent community is how can we unpack, unlearn, and reparent so that we can live full lives and feel like we actually have a place and a contribution to make here. And I want that for myself, my boys, and I want that for all of us.
I actually had a breakthrough yesterday, and I just got to share this because I have been trying to do things differently. And my son, he's fine. The other party's fine, but he was in an at-fault auto accident late yesterday afternoon, and I'm his insurance agent because that's what I do for my work. And so I just did the insurance things. I didn't think about it. He doesn't have his auto ID card. I messaged it to him. He says the tow truck guy wants to take the vehicle to his facility. I said, no, he's going to tow it to the house and I'm going to pay him right there after I get off work. And then I didn't shame him or cause him any distress. In fact, all I did was love. I loved on him and said it's going to be okay because I know my son was going through stress and I just did the right things. And I'm like, Teresa, you did it. You didn't have to think about it. You just did it and you're doing different. And oh my gosh, I was so happy that I went to my meeting last night and shared that. And I just wanted to celebrate something that happened good and that um, I didn't want to add to my son's stress. And I feel like I'm a better mom for it. Thank you.
So, one thing I'm wondering about that is when you showed up, did you have a different perception of what the problem was or what kind of experience you wanted to create for your son?
I wanted to treat him like I would want to be treated, like I treat my other insurance customers. He deserved that dignity and love and respect. And and I deserved it growing up and I didn't get it. So I just want to do the next right thing. And I just want to do better for other people and myself.
What you just pointed out is such a major insight for all of us, which is the difference between being driven by an emotional reaction and being driven by a value. In the past, the shaming would probably come from an, oh my God, how could you do this? How could this happen? This is wrong. This should never happen. This is a bad thing. but instead your priority came from, I value treating others the way I want to be treated. And that shaped your response. So living deliberately, consciously, more value driven, as opposed to emotionally going, being letting your triggers operate. That's a game changer right there. Getting clear on what your values are and making sure those lead the way.
Whew, love that. Not having an emotional response, but looking at your values and allowing that to pave the way. It blows my mind every time we chat, Brian, that how aligned we are in our thinkings and actions, because that's something that I also teach my entrepreneurs is like, from that personal contract of not just doing, right? And I think this is important for people with ADHD to really sink into and hear. Mira was saying adulting is hard. They don't prep us, right? Every day is a goal, and you want to maintain that mindset. And it's all about who are you being? And when we can really tap in that core belief, that core value, then we get to operate not just from a place of doing, checking a box, doing the task, beating ourselves up, RSD, whatever that is. We get to align our decisions and actions from a space of who we are and what we truly believe. And I
And
think that's the $1 million mic drop right there.
And that's why we hang out, Val. You said, you're amazed how aligned we are. And it's great that there are so many of us finding each other because there isn't a one of us that's going to create the necessary cultural shift all by ourselves. We're all in this together. And the fact that we're all out there talking about this in such a similar way is encouraging the very conversations that need to happen. So I'm thrilled that there are people like you out there, Val. The more of us that are out there, the more likely the however many percentage of the 7 billion plus people there are on the planet now, the more of those people that will get served and learn how to make their contribution because we help them realize that all the noise in their head based on all the ways they were mistreated, and not because people were mean, but because people didn't know any better, all that's not on them. And there are things that they can do differently now with because they meet the Vals and they meet the Teresas and they're still breathing, which means it's not too late. They can start healing some of it.
Woo-hoo.
And healing some of it is better than healing none of it. You don't have to think all or nothing and say, well, if I don't heal at all, it's not worth my time. Not true. When you heal some of it, you begin to see parts of the world you didn't know existed because you didn't consider them an option for you.
Boom. I love that, especially coming from someone, you shared with us that you have autism and ADHD and you have MS, and those symptoms do flare. And, coming from a space of where there's a lot of reasons, and I know that each one of us, every single one of us, I could sit down with you and have a conversation and say, what is your past? What happened? What was said to you? What was spoken over you? What limitations have you been given? And, the theme for this year for ADHD Rise 2022 has been because you refuse to be defined by any limitation. And my heart cracks open when I see these people like yourself. And, I see my mom in the audience and she's been through a lot. And I know personal stories in here. And, it's like those stories of triumph that I truly believe it's the people who have walked through hell, who have seen some of the most hard, tragic things happen, that are able, when they rise up and they take a stand and they're willing to say, look, I refuse to be defined by any limitation. That's when we start to see the spark and the magic, and we start to ignite those conversations you were talking about. And we start to,
Hallelujah.
be the light for other people.
I
Thank you.
consider my disabilities are my teachers. They're not my adversaries. They're not my crosses to bear. They're not my curses. They're my teachers. And one of the things they give me most are opportunities to be resourceful. So those situations where they say, oh, I can't do this, I stink at this. Okay, what resources do we need? What resources do we have that can help us accomplish this anyway? because I don't remember who said it. One of the presidents I think said it, that you can get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit. And credit's nice. It's good for your ego. It feels good to be a part of something. But if scoring points and having status and being able to hold your head above everyone else's is a higher priority to you than the result, you're not going to help too many people because it's too much about you. But if you realize that we can only succeed together as a community, that it's a shared win, then you realize that you won as much as everybody else does. And I don't know about you, but I like laughing and cheering with someone else, not by myself. So I've kind of changed my mindset from wanting attention, wanting applause, wanting to have the awards, to just wanting to be a part of helping people be happier and more fulfilled, and people feeling more like they belong. You can't do that by yourself. You can only do that in community. So helping people
Woo-hoo.
realize that they deserve to be included, to belong, and they don't have to earn it. They don't have to be good enough. They don't have to jump through hoops. They just got to show up.
Boom. I gasped when you said that because it's like, we're a part of, you're included. And that's something I try and say in my space is that, I don't care where you've been. I don't care your past. I don't care what you were yesterday. Like I'm more interested in standing shoulder to shoulder with you and let's build together. Let's go toward the future. Let's do the thing. And so I love that. And I'm wondering if is there anyone on stage that would like to share, ask questions? Go ahead and flash your mics as well. We have some incredible people up here. And also feel free if you have a question, you can drop it in the comments, or you can also message one of us in the backgrounds if you are, not wanting to ask your question out loud. Sally says, you belong, you are not alone, others get it. Yes, yes, yes. And I know that's a huge part of our story is that community piece. So is there anyone on stage that has questions, comments? Feel free. Win. Hey.
Hey, I have been watching Brian on and off for years now. Thank you very
Woo
much,
woo.
because I I actually had the privilege of interviewing Brian, and I wish I had the podcast interview so I could give it to you guys. But you're still my favorite person on the planet, Brian,
Oh, bless you,
because
Win. Yeah, Win and I go back years.
yeah, like really long hair. You're still my favorite person on the planet, because for those of you who don't know, I have a physical disability. I am neurodivergent, and I've been through hell and back because of my neurodivergency. And yeah, I did a two-state move without my family. Thank you very much. I've lost both my parents, and God bless them both, but they were both in denial about, most of my dad and my mom, about me being neurodivergent. So I'm trying to get over the fact that they were both in denial about me being neurodivergent, and my successes in life are trying to live my life to the fullest despite having a physical disability. And this, people look at me like, you can't do this. You can't get up on a horse. You can't get up on skis. You can't do this. You can't do that. And so the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes we have to shock people and have them have us defy the odds.
I was talking to one of my clients this morning, doing one of my weekly calls, and she was beating herself up because she says, "How can I run a business if I can't even make a list for what to do each day?" And one of the things I pointed out was, well, is list making one of the things you're trying to monetize? Well, no, there's other things that she's really, really good at that she can monetize, and she's awesome at it. But because she expects herself to be a generalist and be able to wear all the hats, which is a lot of what's encouraged in our hustle culture. You need to do all the things yourself and burn the midnight oil and hustle and all that stuff first. And in school, you're supposed to be a generalist. You've got to be organized and you've got to be able to write legibly and you've got to be able to be punctual. All the stuff that we stink at. So people begin to assume in business if you can't do these things, you don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Baloney. I did a video a couple days ago. My father, who grew up with undiagnosed Asperger's and dyslexia, was pushed through the school system because they didn't know how to teach him. He basically graduated with no education. He went into the military. He discovered his mechanical genius. He can fix just about anything, figure out how to work around any kind of glitch. He's a kinesthetic learner. He's not made to sit at a desk and write and listen all day long. He went and got a black belt in judo and ended up instructing it to the Rangers in the Army. When he graduated and married my mom, they started their own business where he focused on what he rocked at, which was installing wiring. He did alarm systems and burglar systems and everything having to do with low voltage wiring and stuff that he understood. My mom ran the office, my dad did the work, and they raised 4 kids, including putting me through college. So don't tell me you need to be able to do all of this little minuscule stuff to be successful. You do not. You need to be able to focus on where you rock, learn how to monetize that, get support in the areas where you stink, and go out there and make your contribution.
Woo woo. Yes. I make up words. I don't spell everything correctly, and I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room. But let me tell you, I find the people who are good at what I'm not good at, and that's so true. So, so, so true. We can't be defined by any limitations. Adam, did I see you on mic? I wasn't sure if you had anything to share.
I did.
This is your beat, Adam. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah,
he's got
this
lots to
is
share.
this he has so many amazing things and he articulates everything so beautifully in a much kinder way than I do. Um I I am a little bit stronger about how I help people work through things. But one of the things I kind of wanted to bring up in regards to what I've been hearing is also a reminder of the fact that people that are neurodiverse may not be able to be as peaceful or may not to be able to find what people identify as peace. And they beat themselves up for not being able to sort of maintain this supposedly calm equilibrium that other people are able to achieve. And so I focus on working with people and believing that some people just need to be powerful. They need to be driven more by inspiration and creativity and expansion. And that's where they find their personal balance, not in this supposed like peacefulness. And I work with a lot of people that are neurodivergent and also experience trauma, and they're always like, why can't I just find peace? And I feel like that question really detracts from their ability to find success, happiness, and joy because they're looking for this elusive peace part that everyone says they need to find.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Adam. I've been a devout Buddhist for almost 30 years. So I know all about meditation, mindfulness. I teach it to my clients. And one of the big misunderstandings they have is they believe that it's some kind of a destination. That it's something you arrive at and then are able to maintain. And there's simply no experience that's like that. Even our breathing ceases at some point. Our pulse and our breathing are the 2 main constants. And that's one of the reasons why I think we use our breathing as something to tune into when we're learning to meditate. It teaches us to be present. It teaches us when we're not calm. But when you said the feeling of peace, it is so important to really unpack that and get a sense of how would you know it if you found it? What are the criteria? It's almost like the sketch artist. Tell me what this person looked like, so when I see him, I'll know it's him. And one thing that I encourage my clients to understand is that a more reasonable and practical thing to aspire to are feelings of calm. Calm refers much more to the emotion, and I think that peace is emotion and mind. It's the whole body, but that's a different conversation. Because calm is something that someone who spends their lives hyper vigilant is not aware of. They don't know what calm feels like. They just know how to be on alert. So helping them realize that there are moments when you can actually feel like you don't need to be on alert and you can be present and actually enjoy what you're doing. The more moments of those people can experience, the more they realize that there's more to the life experience than threat.
I use the term safe to
Oh, that's a
describe
good
what
one.
you call
Yeah,
calm.
that's a good
Okay.
one. Yeah.
I use the word safe. I really believe in feeling safe, but I often try to help people get there by feeling more powerful than versus um calm, because like I'm actually in better balance when I'm significantly active, and I still think of calm as a little bit of passive energy. Some people really need to find their balance in a highly active way, in ways that actually work for them. And some people do really do excessively well with the more passive. And I think that you sound like the type of person that's willing to work with someone regardless of where their balancing point is, rather than some people feel like there's always got to be a time for passivity.
Well, when I say calm, I don't mean sitting still. When I say calm, I mean you're not reactive. What you are is much more of an observer. You're on alert, you're watching things happen, but you don't feel like, oh my goodness, something's wrong, something terrible is going to happen, I'm going to have to intervene. So, being mindful is a very active state because you're highly alert, you're highly engaged. Now, if you need to be more physically engaged, well, that may speak to how you show up in the world. If you're much more kinesthetic, much more physical, you need to use your body to feel organized. I'm much more auditory. So I'm going to want to have a conversation to help calm myself down, listen to some music, maybe hum to myself, maybe utter some of my own made up words that help regulate my vagus nerve. But you're absolutely right, Adam. We have different styles, different ways of showing up in the world that help us find our balance. And thanks for the reminder that, yeah, not everybody's going to approach it my way. They may need different ways that work more, better for their body and their nervous system. So that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up.
So good. I love what you
Thank
talked
you.
about with that mindfulness as well of being. And somebody wrote in the comments about Casey put being passive style calm makes me want to crawl out of my skin. I remember a counselor, a therapist years and years ago saying, "Why don't you just slack for a week? Why don't you just slack at work?" This is when I was still in the corporate world, and I literally broke out in hives when she told me to slack. And I'm like, I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know what my life is like if I'm not going 5,000 miles a minute. And so that can be really hard for some of us to think about that balance. And Alicia, did you on mic? Oh, I thought Alicia unmiked. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments you want to contribute, feel free to unmic and let us know. But yeah, that can be a really hard place to, and I'm not sure if I believe in balance per se. I think that there is a lot of like equilibrium of discovering what works for us. Because for me, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. There's days when I'm on fire and I'm ready to go and I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh, I'm the greatest entrepreneur in the world. Things are amazing. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go broke. I'm going to be homeless in my car again. And that's it. Like, because that's where my mind goes. And this can all be in one
Right.
day. And I'm saying
That's
this
where
not to get
that's
like,
no, you're
oh, go
absolutely
ahead.
right. That's where your mind goes automatically. In fact, that my brain still defaults to that because that's how I'm wired. My brain automatically wants to catastrophize and go all or nothing. What I've learned over the years is how to spot it because I've become a much better observer of my mind. So as opposed to getting swept up in it, I observe the sweeping. Like, oh, there goes the mind again. The thoughts are going catastrophic. Here's what I'm going to do about it. So it's learning the strategies to step in, because trying to get our brains not to do these things, good luck. It's not allowing yourself to get hogtied and dragged off with these tendencies. Can you interrupt it? Can you intervene and say, let's stop, I'm going to do something different?
One of my biggest sayings is never try harder, always try different.
Yes,
That's
that's
one of
good.
the premises of my work with people that I love.
That's good, Adam,
Never,
because
no,
we're already working hard. Working hard is not the problem. It's that what we're doing isn't working. So you can work harder at
right,
what's not working, right?
yeah,
Very
yeah.
good.
So I love this talk today. I've had to skip out and come back in a little bit, but um, I always also believe in being grateful to people. I wanted to add that the watching thing is really big, and I actually have people that I say I will call you and ask you to tell me something, so that I have someone else's words interrupting my brain, and I will give them like the exact phrasing that I need. So not only doing it myself, but having the community support, being able to use that language. But Brian, Val, I really want to thank you for the talk today. I'm really big on saying thank you and being grateful and appreciative of various people, because especially people that are really good at what they do, people almost assume that they know it and hear it enough, and I think that there's no such thing as too much appreciation.
I so agree with
Oh,
you,
thank you.
Adam. One thing that gratitude has taught me, and this is one thing that's important, is it reminds you that the universe is always giving to you. Because it is easy to think, I'm missing out, I'm left out, I don't have this, I'm not good enough, all the things that are missing. But it's so easy to forget how much is actually going right for you. And like Adam said, when you are grateful for everything, I'm grateful when I get out of bed without falling. I'm grateful when I take the first bite of food and it tastes great. When I can take a sip of water, everything that I can think of to be grateful for, I am. And it helps me maintain my mindset, because it reminds me that the universe is always giving to me. There are always people that are available. I just need to learn the strategies to most effectively access those resources. And that is the work for people with neurodivergence and people in general. So I'll leave it at that.
So good. Thank you so much, Brian. And I know we're wrapping up. We're getting to the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. So, for anyone that wants to learn more, hang out in your spaces, follow your Instagram because you always have great information. What is the best way to get a hold of you? And do you have anything coming up that you would like us to know about?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me is, like you said, find me on one of the social media channels like Facebook or Instagram, or go to my website, which is briancanhelp.com. And what I'm trying to get into now is more speaking gigs, live or social. But the best way to keep tabs of what I'm doing, go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. That's where I share all my best stuff.
Whoop, whoop. Awesome. Well, you definitely did an amazing job here speaking virtually. So thank you so much. I want to share my gratitude and appreciation to you today. And thank you for everyone who participated. I put your link tree up above my head so people can click on there. So
Awesome.
click, click, click away, you guys. We have a couple different things. Looks like he has a happy neurodivergent community. You can find out about his one-on-one coaching, his stories. There's some resources and very, very great information today. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for joining us in this conversation and for leading the way.
It's been an absolute joy, Val. I love it every time we talk.
Yay. All right, you guys. So this has been ADHD Rise. Connect with people who are in here. If you are new to this community, if you are, looking for support, follow people who are in this room, follow them around, hang out where they hang out, do the things. And this has been an incredible honor. I want to thank Brian. I want to thank my help up here, my mods, Teresa, Catherine. I love you guys. Thank you to everyone who held space. Thank you for everyone who was in here. And feel free to unmic and say thank you and say goodbye, and we're going to go ahead and shut down the room here in a
Hey,
moment.
Val, when is our next room?
Thank you.
Before you go.
Our next room is tomorrow. So Friday, we will have 9 a.m. Pacific time. We will have a room 10 a.m. Where are we? Are we the 28th? We are the 28th. Oh, yes. So we have business, ADHD in business, pushing past imposter syndrome. We have resources in recovery. We have twice exceptional and resources for parents and kids. And then we have our closing celebration as well tomorrow. So it's going to be amazing. So join us.
Val, real quick, it's separate issue. Someone wanted to talk to me and I pushed the wrong button. So I
Uh-oh.
believe it was your mom, and I'd be more than happy to. So
Oh,
I bet you.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I can
I don't know
probably
how,
just
but give
I
her
can
my number.
send you her. Yeah, I was gonna say I can send you her phone number or
Yeah,
vice versa. I'll connect you guys.
absolutely. Thank you,
You're welcome. Thank you.
and thank you, Brian.
Very welcome.
Thank you guys. Love
Bye
you.
bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye. Have a great day.